I'm recording this from a cheap hotel room with the lights on, the chain latched, and a chair wedged under the door handle. My name is Elias Rourke. I've been a camera operator for live events for 7 years. This year, I worked the Miss Universe pageant, and I watched them crown something that isn't human. If you saw the crowning ceremony on TV, you didn't see what I saw, because the feed you watched was edited, scrubbed, cleaned. What I saw was real, and I think she knows I saw it. Someone just tried the handle again. 3rd time tonight. No knock, no voice. Just the slow rattle of metal pressing against metal, like whoever's out there isn't unfamiliar with doors, just not really used to needing them. I got the assignment 3 months ago. Miss Universe, international feed, primary stage camera, big stage, global audience, standard gig. First day of rehearsal, the arena smelled like spray tan, hairspray, and nerves. Contestants ran through their walks, name, country, smile, turn. I'd filmed dozens of these. They all blurred together after a while. Until her. Amitaf Hcsob, from Hesperia, the director called. She stepped onto the stage and I felt it immediately. Something in the air changed. The chatter from the other contestants died down. She moved to her mark with perfect posture, hands at her sides. I framed her through my lens. Every step was identical. Same length, same rhythm, no natural sway. I've filmed Olympic athletes. Even they have micro adjustments, weight shifts. She glided like she was on a track. "Stage cam 1, push in," Marlene said in my ear. "She's gorgeous." I zoomed closer. She was beautiful. Symmetrical features, dark hair, amber brown eyes. But something was wrong. "She doesn't blink," I muttered. I watched, waited. 30 seconds, 45, under hot stage lights that made everyone else squint and tear up. Nothing. Then I noticed something worse. Her chest didn't move. Not once. No breath. "You see the new one?" Luis whispered from the next camera over. "I've shot mannequins that felt more alive." He laughed. I didn't. Backstage that afternoon, I was coiling cables near the quick change area when I overheard contestants talking. "She gives me the creeps." "I was next to her at orientation," one said. "Miss Poland, I think. They offered us water. She just stared at the bottle like she'd never seen one. When they insisted, she raised it to her lips and didn't drink. Just held it there for a full minute. Like someone who's watched people do it but never done it themselves." They hurried past, and I tried to dismiss it as competitor cattiness, but they looked scared. Later that day, I was positioned in a narrow hallway off stage, right where contestants lined up before their walks. My camera was angled to catch over-the-shoulder shots during rehearsal. The space filled with nervous chatter, adjusting earrings, checking phones, normal pre-show chaos. Then she arrived. The conversation died instantly. Amitaf stood at the back of the line, perfectly still, while everyone else shifted and fidgeted. Her face was blank, not sad or nervous, just empty, like an unfinished sketch. Martin, one of the senior coordinators, approached her. I had my lens trained on them at full zoom. He spoke quietly, gesturing. I couldn't hear the words, but his body language was tense. "Concerns," I caught. "Judges noticed." She watched him with that unblinking stare. He took a breath. "Look, Whatever your deal is, we need you to meet us halfway. You're making people..." He stopped. Her lips had started to move. I nudged up the audio gain, but couldn't catch the words. Just the slow, deliberate shape of her mouth forming syllables, like a child learning to speak phonetically. Martin's face drained of color. What are you?" he whispered. Something rippled under the skin of her throat. A full, writhing movement, like something underneath had adjusted itself. She smiled. Not the rehearsed pageant smile. This one stretched too wide, the corners cutting upward a fraction too far. For a horrible moment, I thought her skin would split. Martin staggered backward, clutching his chest. The sound he made, a high, wet gasp, would stay with me forever. He collapsed. The hallway erupted. "Call medical! Now!" My camera stayed on her. While everyone rushed toward Martin's fallen form, she didn't move, just watched him with that neutral, empty expression. Then she turned toward my lens, toward me. Those amber eyes locked onto the camera, and I felt like I'd shone a flashlight into a burrow and found something looking back. She held my gaze. 1 heartbeat. 2. Then she blinked. Once. Slow. Deliberate. They wheeled Martin out unconscious. Someone said cardiac arrest, stress, long hours. The show went on. That night in my hotel room, I loaded the footage onto my laptop. I told myself it was professional diligence. I always check my work, but that was a lie. I wanted to see what she'd said to Martin. I scrubbed to the hallway scene and zoomed in. Her mouth moved slowly, forming each syllable individually. Not like someone fluent in a language, but like someone who'd memorized the sounds without understanding them. When her smile stretched, I watched frame by frame. Something under her skin shifted. Her cheeks rippled, a tiny wave beneath the flesh, like something repositioning itself from inside. I froze a single frame. Her pupils looked wrong. For just one frame, there was a vertical pinch through the center of each, almost like a cat's eye. I scrubbed forward. Martin went down. No one touched him. His knees just buckled. And in that moment before chaos erupted, I saw her expression. Not concern, not fear, anticipation, like someone watching a slot machine before the reels stop. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark for a long time. Final night, the pageant. If you watched it, you saw the fireworks and glitter and choreographed perfection. From my platform near the runway, it looked like any other year. Except whenever she was on stage, my hands got colder. When they called her name for the evening gown competition, Miss Hesperia, Amitaf Hcsob, the crowd went wild. She wore an ivory gown that shimmered under the lights. As she moved down the runway, the fabric bothered me. It didn't sway naturally. It clung and released in a rhythm that didn't match her steps, tightening at the knees, then loosening like something breathing underneath. "Push in on her," Marlene breathed. "That's our front runner." I zoomed in, framing her from the waist up. Under the harsh stage lights, I could see details the audience couldn't. No sweat on her forehead, no flush of exertion. The other contestants looked wilted after hours under these lights. Foundation cracking, mascara smudging. She looked exactly the same as she had 14 hours earlier, when she smiled. That too wide smile. The audience roared, but her eyes didn't change. When people smile big, the muscles around their eyes engage. Crow's feet appear. There's movement. Her eyes stayed flat, empty, like someone had drawn the smile on independently. During the Q&A round, when asked what she'd change about the world, she said, "I would change nothing. The world is already exactly the way it needs to be." The crowd loved it. I watched her throat as she spoke. There was a delay. Her voice came out smoothly, but the muscles in her neck and jaw caught up half a second later, like something internal was struggling to synchronize. The final moments came down to two, her and Miss Argentina. When Argentina's name was called as first runner-up, she smiled bravely and hugged Amitaf. For a second, Argentina's hand brushed the back of Amitaf's neck. She recoiled immediately, fingers flinching away like she'd touched something too cold or too wrong. Her eyes flicked up with an expression that wasn't disappointment. It was fear. "And your new Miss Universe is..." The arena detonated. Confetti cannons exploded. They placed the sash over her shoulder. Then came the crown. I zoomed in as the outgoing winner lowered it toward Amitaf's head. It touched her hair and sank. Not far, just enough. The metal nestled into her scalp like pushing a ring into softened wax. Her hair parted around it too easily, and for a split second I saw a thin line at her hairline, like a seam. The crowd screamed with joy. She lifted her bouquet and turned slowly. As she faced my direction, something moved under her skin. A full, writhing shift, like something underneath had adjusted itself, gone in an instant. "Get center stage," Marlene shouted. "Hero shot." I moved without thinking, climbing closer as she walked the winner's lap. She reached the end of the runway and turned. Our eyes met. The smile didn't reach her eyes, not in the metaphorical way people say that. I mean literally. Her mouth moved first. Then there was a pause, a beat, and only then did the skin around her eyes crinkle, like a delayed effect. I lowered the camera a fraction. Her gaze followed. For the first time in my career, I wanted to drop my rig and walk away. I didn't, because underneath all the wrongness, there was something else. Purpose. She looked like someone who'd finally gotten exactly what they'd been working toward for a very, very long time. Backstage after the show should have been chaos. Instead, down one of the side hallways toward the dressing rooms, I noticed something. Silence. Too much silence. I left my camera and followed it. Halfway down the flickering hallway, she stood at the T-junction. No entourage, no handlers. Just her in the crown and gown. She wasn't smiling. Her face without the smile was worse. Completely blank, like a mannequin. She faced the far wall, waiting. My shoe squeaked, her head snapped. Not turned, snapped. It moved too fast in a stuttering, segmented motion. One moment I saw the back of her head. The next, her face, no in between. Her eyes locked onto mine. "Amitaf," I said, because my mouth didn't know what else to do. She blinked once. "Elias," she said. Hearing my name in her voice was the worst thing yet. She pronounced each syllable too carefully. Elias. Like she was tasting it. I hadn't worn a name tag. I'd never introduced myself to her. How? My throat closed. She took a step toward me. At least that's what it looked like. Her body advanced, but her feet hadn't moved. She was sliding, something under the gown propelling her forward without bothering to imitate walking. My back hit the wall. She stopped a few feet away. Up close, the illusion shattered. Her skin was too smooth. Not human smooth, but polished stone smooth. Pores were faint, almost painted on. The seam near her hairline was visible now, a thin line where something had been carefully fused into position. The crown didn't rest on her hair. It rested in it, strands growing around the metal. "You saw," she said. The words dragged, her tongue too slow. "I film," I said stupidly. "That's my job." "You," she repeated, tilting her head with bird-like curiosity. "Saw." Her eyes were too still, flat, locked, like a doll's glass eyes. "I saw normal," I lied. For a heartbeat, nothing changed. Then a small part of her face tried on a new expression. Her brows dipped, her mouth pressed together. She was attempting a frown. It didn't fit. Under her skin, something shivered, a ripple racing from jaw to neck. "Lying," she said. I thought of Martin, collapsing. "I'm just a camera guy," I said quickly. "After tonight, I'm gone. You'll never see me again. I'll delete everything. You don't have to." She stepped closer. The air got colder. "No," she said, and this time her voice had a double echo quality, a second voice riding under the first, slightly lower, slightly offbeat. "You will see me," she said. Her hand lifted. The sleeve slid back, revealing a thin crack along her forearm, a hairline split edged in a darker line. The crack widened slightly. Something dark and slick shifted beneath it. I bit down on a sound. Her head tilted, watching my reaction. "There it is," she murmured. "The look. The... what?" "The look," she repeated carefully, "of understanding. The moment they see." "See what?" Her smile returned, stretching. "What wears them?" she said. Behind her, voices echoed. Footsteps. "Miss Hcsob, press photos in 5. Her eyes stayed on my face. "You will not show it," she said, meaning the footage. "You will not share. Not yet. Not time." Her hand lowered. The crack in her arm sealed like a zipper closing from inside. "Why me?" I whispered. A pause. She blinked slowly. "You look," she said, "longer than most." She stepped back, or rather, something large retracted into a smaller space, like a spider folding its legs. "I'll delete it," I blurted. "Everything. It's gone." "Lying," she said again, but this time her face emptied completely back to that blank, almost face. A handler turned the corner. "There you are. Press is waiting." She nodded once, precise. Then she walked away. They said Martin had a heart attack. Stress, long hours. Unofficially, they said he'd been muttering about her eyes in the ambulance, clawing at nothing. The network collected our footage at the end of the night. When I went looking for my hallway scene the next day on the shared server, it was gone. Not corrupted, gone. But my personal SD card still had it. I told myself I'd deal with it when I got home. The flight home was uneventful. Airport TVs played her crowning on loop. People stopped to watch, faces softening as she smiled. No one watched as long as I did. Back in my apartment, things started. Small things at first, reflections in dark screens that didn't quite match my movements. At night, the faint click of heels in the hallway outside. Always the same distance, same pace, never passing my door, never stopping. After the second sleepless night, I checked into this hotel by the airport. Generic, forgettable, safe. The first attempt on the handle came an hour after I arrived. A slow, careful rattle. Testing. The second came an hour later. The third is happening now. In my bag, my laptop waits. The SD card still inside. Part of me whispers that if I delete the footage, this stops. That whatever has fixed its attention on me will drift away if I stop, looking longer than most. But I can't. Because I opened the laptop 10 minutes ago, and there's a file on the desktop I didn't put there. No icon. Just a blank white rectangle. The name reads, Amitaf _introduction.mp4. The SD card slot is empty. I never took the card out. The handle turns again. This time there's a sound with it. Not quite a voice. A layered whisper. 2 tones overlapping. Open, it says, syllables spaced and deliberate. The file. On the TV, she lifts the bouquet, smiling at millions. On the laptop, the cursor blinks beside the file name. I could delete it. I could throw the laptop at the wall. Or I could do what I've always done. Hit play. Something moves beyond the door, fabric grazing wood, like a gown swaying. The air smells faintly of damp soil and rotting flowers. You saw, the voice says again, softer now, almost affectionate. My finger hovers over the touchpad. She isn't just Miss Universe. She isn't just something wearing human skin. She wanted the crown for a reason. Front of every magazine. Center of every screen. Eyes of the world on her. I don't know how many people before me have looked longer than most. I don't know how many cameras she's leaned into, testing, checking to see who noticed. I just know I was stupid enough to notice. Stupid enough not to look away. Stupid enough to keep the footage. The chain on the door groans, stretching. I double-click the file. The screen goes black. For 3 seconds, nothing. Then her face fills the frame. She's not on a stage anymore. She's somewhere dark, somewhere close. The camera, my camera, I recognize the framing, is inches from her face. Her eyes are open, too wide. The amber has darkened to something closer to black. Her mouth moves, but the voice doesn't come from the speakers. It comes from behind me. Hello, Elias. The door is still closed, the chain still latched. She was never outside. She's been in here since I opened the laptop. I turn, but the room is empty. Just the beige walls, the generic art, the humming AC. On screen, her smile stretches impossibly wide. And in the mirror across from the bed, behind my reflection, I see her standing there, hands folded, crown still nestled in her hair, watching with patient, endless eyes. You looked, she says, and her reflection mouth moves half a second after the words. Now I see you. The recording ends here. They found Elias Rourke's laptop in a hotel room near LAX 3 days after he checked in. The door was still chained from inside. The chair was still wedged under the handle. The room was empty. His camera equipment sat neatly by the bed, still packed. His phone showed no calls, no messages, no activity after 11:47 p.m. on his last night. The laptop was open. One file on the desktop, Amitaf_introduction.mp4, hotel security, reviewed the footage. No one entered or left his room after he arrived. The file wouldn't play. Corrupted, they said. But if you look at the thumbnail, just a single frozen frame, you can see her, standing in what looks like a hotel room, smiling at the camera. And if you look very, very closely at the mirror in the background, you can see someone else, someone holding a camera, someone who looked too long. Amitaf Hcsob is currently on a worldwide press tour. She's been on every talk show, every magazine cover, every trending video. Millions of people watch her interviews. Most scroll past after a few seconds. But some people like Elias, they pause the video, they zoom in. They look at her eyes, her skin, the way she moves. They look longer than most, and she notices. She always notices. If you're watching her interview right now, if you've paused to study her face, if you're zooming in on this very moment, don't. Close the video, look away, before she sees you looking back.